Okay, guys, I am so excited to introduce you my today guest. She is an amazing vegan chef, an author of Hawaii, a Vegan Paradise book, a vegan cooking instructor and recipe developer, host of Lillian Vegan World, YouTuber Lillian Cumic. Hi, Lillian, how are you?
Aloha, Avrora. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my God, it's my pleasure to have you here on, and I am so grateful you say yes. And I'm sure we have a lot of talk about, even not only about veganism, about fitness, about lifestyle, about all of this. So before we get into my topics, I just want you to introduce yourself even more for my followers or for anyone who listens us out there. So tell a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what do you do for a living?
Thank you, Avrora, and thank you so much for the gracious introduction. You pretty much did cover it all. So yeah, I am a vegan chef of about 20 years. I'm also a recipe developer, and as you mentioned, my first vegan cookbook, Hawaii, a Vegan Paradise, was released just last November of 2020. So that just came out recently. It's a book about Hawaiian food, popular Hawaiian food trending, and there's about 120 plant-based recipes in it. So I'm originally from Sydney, Australia. When I was 18 years old, I moved over to Japan, where I ended up staying for 30 years. So I lived in Japan, and that's where I started my cooking career, actually. I had a dining bar there. I was the head chef and owner of the bar. At that time, I was serving 5-course vegetarian meals. That was before I became vegan. So yeah, as I was doing that, I just started delving into the plant-based cooking and recipes and realized that I no longer needed dairy. And that's how I ended up becoming vegan 15 years ago. Wow. And as they say, the rest is history. Here I am in Hawaii. I've been here for just over 2.5 years. So going into my 3rd year, very excited to be here and doing everything I did in Japan, just on a bit of a bigger level.
Nice, nice. Can I ask you how long you was vegetarian before you got to be completely vegan?
I actually grew up vegetarian. I've never eaten meat or fish, but I did eat dairy.
Oh, okay.
The reason
by saying dairy, just for some people who don't know, by saying dairy, do you mean eggs, milk, and some like other eggs, milks products, or what do you mean by dairy?
That's a good question, because actually there are, when you use the term vegetarian, there are actually so many different types of vegetarians. There are vegetarians who eat fish or white meat, yet abstain from, red meat. There are vegetarians who don't eat meat or fish, yet eat eggs and consume dairy like milk, cream, yogurt, ice cream, butter. And then there are people like me who I never ate any meat, fish, or eggs, but I used to eat a lot of junk food. I never even drank dairy milk, but I used to love ice cream. I used to love chocolates, candies, stuff like that. That is just really laden with animal products. If you go searching for animal products in vegetarian food, I think you'll be surprised how much animal products are contained in vegetarian food. So I grew up like that. My parents are not vegetarians or vegans in any sense of the term. They're actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. Wow. So they thought there was something wrong with me at a younger age, when I just decided that I wasn't going to swallow anything that looked unusual to me. So my parents kind of let me do my own thing. Both my parents were excellent cooks, and that's where I think I get my talent from, excellent home cooks. And they sort of let me eat vegetarian food. But having said that, I think a vegetarian diet is one of the most unhealthy diets I've seen, and with firsthand experience, I was at my most unhealthy stage when I was a vegetarian.
Wow, that's so interesting that you share this with us, because a lot of people think out there that vegetarian is a healthy lifestyle or even vegan, right? And it's not always in case, right? And I'm so happy you mentioned that. So how you actually, like, okay, I'm trying to imagine, right? You in Australia, you are a kid and everyone eat meat around you. So what's happened? Like how you became to like wanting don't eat meat? How does that happen?
Mhm. People ask me this all the time, and even my parents don't have an exact answer for this, but I can tell you that my father was Serbian from the former Yugoslavia.
Mhm.
And everybody who knows anything about Eastern Europe will understand that all those countries are very big, on eating meat.
Mhm.
Their cuisine, it's packed with meat, basically. It's built on meat. So my dad, who migrated from Serbia when he was in his early 20s, he moved to Australia. He really missed that fresh organic, I don't know if you call it organic, but he missed buying meat that looks like the animal. So from a young age, I used to see him, he used to buy the dead animal, the cow, the pig, from farms. The
Oh,
farmers would slaughter them and then remove the skin of the animal. And then my dad and all of his friends used to share, like buy that whole animal, bring it back to our place, and then they would cut it up and share it amongst themselves. So I definitely think when I was a very young child, I must have seen something that really traumatized me. And
absolutely. I absolutely
yeah,
know what do you feel. I grew up in Ukraine, and that's the same culture. And in my village, I saw how people just kill the animals and they do the craziest stuff with them. And I was thinking it's wrong. And that's why I stopped eating meat in the same way. So I absolutely know what you mean. It's
yeah,
crazy.
totally.
Wow. It's
It's
just so
interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
I was
Keep
going to
going.
say,
Huh?
it's interesting because children can either go in two directions when they're put in situations like that. Because if you look at children who grow up on farms, who witness animals dying all the time that are used for human consumption, children who live, who grow up in environments like that, they can actually become used to, and I will almost say almost numb to what animals feel, to the fact that animals actually have feelings, do feel pain, do feel trauma, do feel sadness, because they're sentient beings. Animals are sentient beings, whether you want to believe it or not. They feel pain. And children who grow up on farms, I think they can become very so used to animals being treated or mistreated that it actually has no effect on them. Then on the other hand, I think there are children, like in my case, with my experience, where I saw something like that on so many occasions that it became so disgusting and so horrible and horrendous to me that it actually turned me the other way.
Yeah.
I decided I didn't look at animals as food. I've never ever looked at a fish, a dead fish, or a lobster, or a piece of steak. I've never looked at it and associated it with food. I always associate it with the animal that is a living being that isn't supposed to be food. So yeah, I think children are like sponges. The more you try to hide things from them, I think the easier. There's so much information out there, but children maybe should know where their food actually comes from rather than hide it from them all the time.
Yes, it's just absolutely true. I cannot agree more. And the children is going to make decision. And I'm happy that your parents didn't push you, to eat meat and change your decision. That's an amazing. So now I want to talk a little more about your cooking career. So you got into Japan, right? And then you start
Mhm.
cooking all those vegan, I mean, by the time vegetarian meals, right? And what like push you to switch to completely vegan diet as well as cooking like a vegan chef?
Mhm. I actually didn't cook at all until I moved to Japan. I was 18 years old and I went there on a modeling contract. I was there for 1 year, and that was very exciting at my age. But I knew as soon as I arrived in Japan, I knew very quickly that if I didn't learn how to cook, I probably wasn't going to eat much, because Japan is not vegan friendly. And again, it's like, it's okay for vegetarians because vegetarians don't mind, you know, having things sort of slip into their meals. For example, in Japan, everything is made with dashi. Dashi is basically made from katsuo bonito, which is a type of fish, and a seaweed. So everything in Japanese cooking derives from either fish, or they also do use a lot of meat stock. So whether it's a vegetable dish, definitely it contains some sort of animal products. So that's something to note. And then, yeah, as the first year I lived in Japan, I started cooking and experimenting. I remembered the flavors that, you know, my parents used to cook. My mother was Fijian, so we enjoyed a lot of spicy food, a lot of very exotic dishes. And then I remembered my dad's food, very clean, lots of salads, fresh vegetables. My dad actually was a very healthy eater, although he loved meat, but he loved, you know, vegetables as much. So I started cooking and then realized that I really enjoyed it. I wasn't good at cooking at first, but I was kind of forced into the kitchen. I talk about that in my book, actually. So I really had no choice, and I really enjoyed it. And by the time I got to 30 years old, I decided, because people kept saying to me, you should open a restaurant. I kept hearing that all the time. So I did. When I was 30, I opened a vegetarian dining bar. Basically, it was a high-end bar selling cocktails and wine, with an Australian theme. It was an Aussie bar. And then I served 5-course vegetarian meals. And when I started doing that, a lot of my customers kept saying, you should teach cooking classes. So this went on for years. And then eventually I started a cooking school. Well, I started cooking classes and eventually had a lot of people coming to them. Then as I was doing that, the more I learned about cooking, the more it opened up venues and led me naturally to veganism, to plant-based cooking. And really at that stage, the only things I was incorporating into my diet that weren't vegan was butter and cheese. A lot of people say, you know, they could never go vegan because they could never give up the cheese. But when I realized that you can actually make vegan cheeses, I decided that I wasn't going to do dairy anymore. And I spent 1 year learning how to make vegan cheese.
Wow. Do you have a recipe about how to make a vegan cheese in your new book?
Yeah, so actually the first year when I arrived in Hawaii, I started doing cooking classes here and there, and I did 7-course dinners. Anyway, one of the magazines here, CRAVE magazine, which is included in the Star Advertiser, the Honolulu Star Advertiser, found me and actually featured me on the cover of their magazine. And it was for my cheeses. And they called me the vegan cheese whiz.
Wow. I want to try your cheeses.
The cheeses I make are very, very easy. There's lots of my cheese recipes on my YouTube channel, Lillian Vegan, also on my Facebook and Instagram pages. You can just find me at Lillian Vegan. But a lot of them are cashew cheeses. I can make very complicated ones, but the recipes that I do share on my social media are basically recipes anyone can do. And I didn't include any cheese recipes in my first book, but I do have my second book coming out at the end of this year. It's also a Hawaii themed vegan and gluten-free cookbook, but I have actually written a whole chapter of cheese recipes in it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so very excited for it. The second book is called Tasting Hawaii Vegan Style. So that will be out at the end of the year. Do look out for it.
Absolutely. Let's talk about first one first. So how you ended up to wanted to create the book. I mean, I'm sure I would love to join your cooking classes if there are going to be someone, but how you got an idea to create the whole book. It's hard. And I saw your book. It's big. It has an amazing recipes and a lot of pictures and everything just look great, but that's a lot of work. So how did you do that?
Well, the opportunity actually came to me, funny enough, because as I mentioned earlier on, I was on the cover of the CRAVE magazine here in Honolulu, and that came to the attention of the publisher here in Hawaii, called Mutual Publishing. So someone from Mutual Publishing, which is a local publishing house, reached out to me and asked if they could meet me to talk about a potential vegan cookbook. And given my background, I had already, been in the food industry for about 25 years. So I have a lot of recipes, but what I don't have is a lot of Hawaiian recipes. So this was tricky. And when I went to meet with the publishers, went back and forth. I gave them a sample of about 20 recipes that I could provide. And, we kind of went from there. It wasn't just straight away, yes, we want you to write a book. So yeah, the opportunity came to me and it came at a great time. I actually signed the contract for that book in 2019 in December. And just so happened that in 2020 of March, the pandemic started. So I was unable to work. And actually, it turned into a blessing in disguise for me, because then I was able to really concentrate on writing the book and getting the recipes done. When you write a cookbook, that was my first experience, although I have written thousands of recipes as a recipe developer. Writing a cookbook is like writing 2 books at the same time, because there's so much time involved testing the recipes. This is something that is really, really time consuming, and you have to be so careful with it, because people that buy the book, they need to have recipes that actually work. So apart from the testing, then taking the photos for the book, and then writing the introduction, writing all of the recipes, it is really time consuming, but one of the most satisfying things I've done in my life, I must say, seeing it come to life and seeing what I and my publisher had created, it was the most exciting thing. So Hawaii, a Vegan Paradise, is actually Hawaiian food that I veganized, and also Hawaiian food that's trending in Hawaii. And it's the first cookbook like that.
Nice.
So very, very, very unique. Yeah. And
so
it was interesting learning about Hawaiian food, but with my Fijian background.
Australian, right? It's new.
Yes. But my mother is Fijian, so it's Polynesian food, it's basically the same. Very, very similar. So I was very, very familiar with a lot of the dishes, although Hawaiian food, Fijian food differs in some of the spices and stuff that they use. So I learned a lot. It was like, it was a learning experience, the whole thing, from writing the book, testing the recipes, learning about Hawaiian food. It was just the year of the pandemic for me. It really opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So having that book be successful and then lead to my second book is just, I feel very blessed and grateful.
Yeah, that's amazing. So where people can find it, how we can buy your book, tell us.
Yeah, so the book is available all over stores in Hawaii. Actually, it's in Barnes & Noble, which I'm very proud of. It's displayed there. It's also in independent stores all over. It's in Costco, in all of the Costco stores in Hawaii, Sam's Club. And then, of course, online, you can get it on Amazon. It's
Amazon. It's easy.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, because
So if you're,
we are blessed here, but I'm sure I have a lot of listeners who are not from Hawaii. So it's amazing. You can just go on Amazon, guys, and don't miss this because the second book is coming. So we got to make sure we kind of try all of these recipes before the second one come, right? We don't have
thank
so
you.
much time. So yes,
Yes.
I definitely recommend it because I saw the book. I get it to myself on Amazon too. So I gonna try your recipes. I'm excited because I never cook Hawaiian style. I am new here, so I am really familiar with Hawaiian recipes and even Hawaiian dishes. So I am excited. And then I really recommend to anyone who listens out there. It's an
Thank you.
amazing book. Now
Thank
I
you.
want to talk a little bit more about your TV show. So I know you're a YouTuber and it's obviously amazing, like really great videos out there. Everyone go and check this out. But how did you get to be a TV host in the Hawaiian TV studio?
So it's a Hawaii, ThinkTech Hawaii
Yeah.
have about 30 shows per week
Mm-hmm.
that they produce. And so 2 years ago when I when I moved to Hawaii, someone introduced me to the CEO, the founder of Hawaii ThinkTech, and told him that there's this woman here who's a vegan chef. She's a YouTuber, although I'm really not a big YouTuber. If you go to my YouTube page, you'll see I've got about 200 recipe videos, but I'm more sort of present on Facebook, I would say, is my mainstream social media. But yeah, so the ThinkTech, they do have a TV channel here, ThinkTech Hawaii, but not all of the shows are shown on the TV channel. So mainly they do YouTube. It's all over YouTube. It's basically everywhere, iTunes, Vimeo. So they basically produce shows for people like myself that we call citizen journalists, people that share a passion for something that can help the community, or bring something good to the community about what you do. So in regards to the plant-based diet, there was no one doing a show on with ThinkTech Hawaii at the time. So when I went in for the audition, it went very smoothly, and I was offered the time slot. So on my show, I interview a guest every episode, which is twice a month, bi-weekly. And you can watch it on ThinkTech Hawaii. It's called Lillian's Vegan World. And I talk about the plant-based diet and veganism, basically. And how you can start it. There's so many things I've talked about, how veganism can reverse certain illnesses. I've had the wonderful Avrora on my show talking about bodybuilding. I love that show, and a lot of my friends who watched that were amazed at how amazing you look. And it just goes to show that a plant-based diet is you can do anything on a plant-based diet and more. Yeah. So yeah, with my show, I try to sort of introduce what it means, not just about the food. I in fact don't do any cooking on the show. Purposefully, because I want to address other issues, because I always talk about food on my other social media. So yeah, it's a great show. Check it out if you have time.
Yes, definitely recommend it. Now, talking about bodybuilding, I just really want to know, like, do you train? Do you do anything to obviously look so good as you are? I know you eat absolutely healthy and vegan, but do you do any exercises to kind of keep you in shape?
So I do power yoga at home, probably now only 2 to 4 times a week. I've really cut down my exercising. I also swim a lot at the pool or at the beach, and I walk everywhere. Walking is really my thing. I literally walk everywhere. So that's something that I enjoy. And I remember when you were on my show, I asked you about exercise and how you recommend people start doing it. And you're exactly right. Finding something that you like to do is the best form of exercise. Power yoga I turned 50 in January. And I know that it's great.
For someone who don't see us, if you just listen to the podcast, please go on my YouTube and look at this beautiful girl. Like, never seen it. I could never
Thank
know.
you.
Wow.
Thank you. But because of that, well, not because of that, I've always been active, but yoga definitely for me keeps me nice and flexible and keeps me strong, because really just with the weight of your body, you can get a really good, workout with yoga. So I recommend yoga for anyone. And the beauty about yoga is obviously you can do it anywhere. All you need is your mat. So I don't exercise every day, 2 to 4 times a week. I walk probably daily, and I love wine. So I drink wine on a daily basis, pretty much. I might not once or twice a week, but wine is definitely my thing. The other thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I practice intermittent fasting. So I don't eat for 20 hours a day. Every single day I fast for 20 hours, and I'm only eating in a 4-hour period from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Wow. So that definitely has, I've been doing that for about 10 years. Intermittent fasting is just a natural part of my lifestyle. And it's something that I talked about on my show several times as well. I think when you start learning how to stop eating so much, you're going to find that your body has the chance to heal itself. The body is a healing machine. And when you are eating so many times a day and not working off any of that energy, basically your body is just so busy digesting food. And it doesn't give your body the time to heal itself, to start getting into those fat stores and using all that fat that's stored there for energy. Rather, it's trying to digest food and using the energy from the food that's being digested to keep your machine running. So intermittent fasting is something I definitely recommend people look into. You don't have to start it, fasting for 20 hours a day. That's something that people who've been doing it for a long time can do. But, in my opinion, even things like skipping breakfast is something I would recommend, because people nowadays eat because they think they have to, not because their body is actually telling them they're hungry. It's like an automatic response. And basically it's a habit. Waking up in the morning, first thing, heading to the kitchen, eating. It's a habit that you've just grown to do. But I don't believe that eating so often is a good thing, but that's my opinion. And I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a medical professional. It just, in my experience, I have found that intermittent fasting has helped a lot of people, from anything to, losing weight, to reversing illnesses, to getting healthy in general. So I definitely would look into that. So for me, I think my health comes from 2 things: the food that I eat and the intermittent fasting, and also the food that I am eating during that, 4-hour period of feasting. So.
Wow, that's so interesting. And I absolutely agree. I have practiced intermittent fasting with me, for myself, as my clients as well. And it's worked well for some people. And I just so interesting to know, like you said, you do that for 20 years, you do 20 hours intermittent fasting, right? You don't eat
for 10 years. 10 I've been doing this, and
wow,
20 hours I fast. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, if I go out on the weekend, or I'm having lunch with friends or whatever, of course I will eat at a different time, but I won't eat for longer than a 4-hour period. I'm very strict about that.
So when you eat in this 4-hour period, are you attempt to overeat sometimes, or it's never happened with you because it's a long period of time you don't eat? So how you manage how much you should eat in these 4 hours?
That is an excellent question. And it really boils down to how much time you are going to put into making sure that you eat healthy. If you start, the thing is, intermittent fasting doesn't mean that you're starving. You're not starving at all. Your body does become used to anything that you train it to do. So it's just part of training the body. When it comes to 5 p.m. every day, and I have fasted for 20 hours, I'm not even hungry. It's when I start eating that I become hungry. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's how our body works.
Yeah, I could actually not eat probably for a lot longer than that. But once I do start feeding my body, then my body's going, okay, I'm liking this, bring it on, Lil, you know. So so when you think about the word breakfast, breakfast just basically is two words that make up the word breakfast: break, fast. So you're breaking the fast. And when you break your fast, you know, it's the most important time you're about to eat, because it's the first time your body's getting food in so many hours. If you wake up and you eat breakfast, you break the fast with, you know, bacon and eggs and white bread and butter. Basically, you're just feeding your body nonsense. It's nothing is going to benefit. Your body's not going to benefit from such processed heavy dairy that's going to clog up your system, full of inflammation. Of course, meat takes so long to digest, is full of toxins. I could go on, but honestly, when I break my fast, I break it always with 1 cup of warm water, half a lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric for inflammation. Turmeric powder is excellent for so many things. If you can add turmeric to your daily diet, I highly recommend it. And a pinch of chili powder. This is what I refer to as my detox drink. That is the first thing I drink, and then I wait for 30 minutes before I eat anything, because that allows that detox drink to work in your body, especially on an empty stomach. It just really, I think it works wonders, and it's excellent for your skin. I mean, people who do stuff like that, if you look at their skin looks pretty good. So there's something to be said about that. And then the first thing I eat is it's raw. Whether it's fruit or vegetables, I eat a raw meal. Usually one type of food. So if I'm eating oranges, I might have 2 oranges. If I'm eating, you know, blueberries, I might start my feasting with a cup of fresh blueberries. I don't like to mix my food. Sometimes I might just have 2 or 3 sticks of celery. So something raw. Then I have a salad. Every day I have a salad. Have to have a salad. It's my thing. I just, and that's where I pack in all the good stuff. Lots of vegetables, lots of green stuff, and then I'll have a cooked meal. So if you think about it, I'm eating what everybody eats in a day, basically, but I'm doing it in a shorter period of time, so that my body just digests it. And when you do it in a manner that when you start with food that's easily digestible, like easily digested, like the raw fruit or raw vegetables, and don't mix them around too much, it actually is very, very easy to digest. So when you do it like that, you know, I can fit in 1 day's worth of meals in 4 hours. And 4 hours is actually a long time to be eating. I'm not eating the whole time.
So you just eating the whole time. So basically it's about 4 meals. You have this 4 hours, or how many meals do you think?
So, well, if you want to call 2 oranges a meal, then I guess you can. It's not really a meal. Like a couple of oranges isn't really a meal. So I would say I have 2 meals. Like I have a salad, and then I have, you know, 10 different type of vegetables in that. And then I'll have a hot meal, whatever the hot meal is. If it's, you know, rice and something, or a stew, or a homemade pizza, or a pasta. Yeah, it's just everything I eat is packed with nutrients, packed with color, packed with texture, you know, packed with flavor. Just very, very nutrient dense food is what I look for.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing this with us. I'm sure I'm interested as a nutritionist to know more about your lifestyle diet, I would say, and I'm sure the listeners is also so interesting, because as I said, I have a lot of clients who intermittent fast, but this is specific order you do, and this is interesting to know. For example, I love your first drink, but I just want to know everything what you add into your hot water is basically seems to be really nice, but why you have a chili powder?
The chili powder, I can't remember exactly what it does, but I think it stimulates fat loss, I think.
Oh, really? I mean,
Chili powder, yeah.
Any spices kind of do this stuff. So I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with that. And it also actually just makes the drink more pleasurable, because
okay.
the first, like taste wise, it actually, I really like it. If I don't have chili powder, I'll put, a couple of drops of hot sauce or something, because when you've got the lemon juice, the apple cider vinegar, the turmeric, it becomes just this. At first, I think it would be hard for anyone to try. I had my husband do it for a couple of months when we first got married, and I could tell he was just struggling. He just didn't like it, and he stopped doing it. I mean, I don't force anyone to do anything. My husband's also not vegan, although our house is completely vegan. Our home, you do not bring any animal products into our home, and that includes leather. That includes furniture. So our home's completely vegan, and my husband loves it. But I think when it comes to food you eat, there is no one formula for a diet. That's why people like you, Avrora, like a nutritionist, you need to sit down with a nutritionist and work out what you need, how much you need, how many calories you need. If you don't know what you're doing, I recommend hiring a nutritionist. I mean, I know exactly what I'm doing, what my body needs, what kind of lifestyle I like to lead, how often I like to feed my body. So for me, it comes very naturally, but I never miss out on anything. I don't start breaking my fast with a glass of wine, for example. I make sure I've eaten something first, and then, 2 or 3 hours before I go to sleep, I'll open a bottle of wine with my husband, and then, enjoy that with my last meal, my hot meal, and stuff like that. So I don't deprive myself over anything. And one of my mantras, which is in my second book, my book coming out, one of my mantras is moderation over deprivation. I really believe that to be true, because when you start telling yourself you can't have this, you can't have that, it actually is not going to help you move toward a healthy lifestyle. And on a vegan diet or on a plant-based diet, you're not missing out on anything. You're honestly not missing out on anything. You're only gaining on a plant-based diet, because you eat so much more healthier food than you would on a non-vegan diet. So
I'm absolutely agree with you. And I am absolutely agree as a nutritionist that you shouldn't say no or restrict yourself. No restrictions is anywhere and anyone going to benefit from that. We have to eat what we like, and we have to listen to our body. So you're a great example of someone listen to your body successfully, looking great. And if you're gonna, let's say, take your diet and apply to someone else out there, it's may not gonna work out. Maybe yes, but maybe not. We never know. We just have to listen to ourselves. That is the first thing. But sometimes it's really hard. So that's what I trying to do with people who come to me. They just lost. They don't know how to listen to themselves, what to eat, when to eat, and how to do it healthy way. But as I'm working, I'm always trying to teach people how to listen to themselves, like not following a nutrition plan forever. It's impossible, right? No one can do it, and it doesn't make any sense. So thank you for sharing this. It's an amazing, and I really want to do fasting now. You kind of inspire me, because I am sure I'm not going to do it for like 10 years, but I do it sometimes just to cleanse insides and give a break for my digestive system. I think that's a great option to do it. So you inspire me to do it in a couple of days.
Awesome.
So thank you. Before I let you go, I have a last question that I always ask everyone, and it's maybe a little bit hard one, but anyways, if it's gonna be a last day on the earth, what you gonna do?
I love that question. I love that question. I'm going to be grateful. Wow. I'm going to be grateful that I had the opportunity to spend time on earth. But that is something I do daily. I'm always grateful. I start my mornings off being grateful, saying what I'm grateful for. But I would definitely open up a bottle of wine, get a nice vegan cheese and some crackers, and just enjoy the last day with someone I love, my cat and my husband.
Yes, awesome. Love it. And also you have kind of like a choose one, what I do in the end, part of like a food edition. So I just gonna tell you two things and you have to choose one. Sounds good?
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Black or purple?
Black.
Gym or outdoor workouts?
Outdoor workouts.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Juice or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Wine or water?
Wine.
I know you're gonna say that. Chocolate or sweet cream?
Chocolate.
Kiss or hug?
Hug.
Love or sex?
Love.
That's it. That was it. It's just a little bit fun game I play in the end to
I
know
love it.
a little more. And
That's
thank you so
fun.
much for being honest and showing up today. So I can, of course, include all the information about you in the descriptions below this podcast. But anyways, how people can find you. What's the best way to reach to you? If they just want to buy your book, we can go to the Amazon, right? But if they want to reach to you, how we can find you?
Thank you, Avrora. I appreciate that. You can find me at lilliancumic.com. Lillian, Lillian, Cumic, Cumic.com. And all of the information is there on my website. It can lead you to my YouTube page, also Lillian Vegan, Facebook page, Instagram, Lillian Vegan, _ Chef Hawaii. And then with my ThinkTech Hawaii show, Lillian's Vegan World. So just Google Lillian Vegan and a lot will come up.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much again for showing up here. I'm sure everyone out there is happy to listen to your truly story and amazing vegan chief. Thank you again. And I'm having so much to talk about more. So maybe we're going to see you again.
Definitely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you, Avrora, for what you do for the plant-based world. You're amazing, and keep going, keep moving forward.